You know, since I've played a role in this fandom for the majority of my life, I'm most likely putting myself at risk by making this video. But as you all know, I'm a risk taker, and I'll do what I need to do to get something done. For the past couple of months, Sonic fans on Twitter have been having their daily back and forth discourse, to the shock of nobody. Which is weird, because you'd think most fans would be more than happy with the timeline the franchise is in right now, given all the new content that's been dropping since 2022. In terms of content on all forms of media, fans are basically living the dream, but in terms of how good the content actually is, it depends on who you ask, but I digress. Most of the time, fans fight about renders, canonicity, character traits, your mom, everything. However, there's one topic of conversation that fans have been screaming their heads off about ever since Frontiers came out, and that's the characterization of an iconic pink hedgehog known as Amy Rose. People want her to either have her one-note personality trait being just to have a crush on Sonic and stalk him wherever he goes, or have her actually serve purpose in the adventure and have plot-related material to work with. This is what happens when you have characters who tend to shift personalities in specific games over and over and lead to controversy, Sonic Team. So I thought in today's video we can do a bit of a character analysis on the many personalities Amy was given in most of the games she's appeared in over the years. Yeah, believe it or not, Amy has much more to her personality in case you younger fans hadn't noticed. I know this has been done to death by other YouTubers, but I feel there are some things that they tend to leave out about Amy. While on the subject, I'd also like to put my foot down on the arguments fans like to get themselves into, but I'll save that for after the character analysis. Plus, it would be an honor for me to give my own thoughts on Amy's character, which I'll try to be as clear and understandable as I possibly can. And what better way to start off than with her debut appearance in Sonic CD back in 1993. This game could either be good or bad depending on who you ask, but Amy, and of course Metal Sonic, are the biggest reasons why folks try not to forget about this game's existence. Around the time, Sega was experimenting with every possible idea they had on their mind about the franchise, including giving the Hedgehog a girlfriend, even though it goes against every rule in the book as to what made Sonic a character. And it pains me to remind folks about this, but Sonic was originally gonna have a human girlfriend from the very beginning. God bless to the person who was able to talk them out of it, but unfortunately that foreshadowed a similar situation in the future. Moving on! Well, whatever they compromised on, the end results work for this game. In the Sonic Origins edition of CD, it's implied that Amy used her tarot cards to find out what's to happen in her future. And of course it was to find her knight in shining armor, which happens to be you-know-who. While Sonic's off venturing on Little Planet, he comes across Amy who just hugs him, which is pretty silly. It's also worth noting that Sonic doesn't immediately shove her off to the side when she does this, by the way. Then out of nowhere, shortly after, Sonic's evil doppelganger, Metal Sonic, comes in and swoops Amy, and Sonic can't do anything about it, at the moment. So she's immediately demoted to Damsel in Distress, even though a certain plumber boy has already done that numerous times before Sonic did. Great! But what makes this a bit more rewarding is that Sonic didn't save her because he has a crush on her, he did it because he has a heart of gold, and he doesn't hesitate to do what's right. And he saved Little Planet in the past, present, and future in the process. After CD and before what we're about to talk about, they didn't really do much else with her during this era. She was included in spin-offs like Sonic R and Sonic the Fighters, but that was pretty much it. Until 1998. Sonic Adventure is here and has given us a new perspective towards all these characters, especially Amy. Most folks are willing to admit that Amy was at her peak in this game, and I could definitely see what they mean by that. Her passion for Sonic is still there, but what should really be appreciated is how the team did even more with her in the correct way. As we know, she looks after a poor Flicky and then gets captured by Zero and taken to the egg carrier. Yeah, damsel in distress again, but what makes this only somewhat better is that we actually see what happens to her after she gets captured, which is more than I can say for Peach if it wasn't Paper Mario or something. Amy then comes across E102 Gamma, who already works for Eggman, and after her lighthearted personality was able to change him, he decides to let both of them go. Then later she protects the robot from Sonic and tells him that he doesn't need to destroy him.
Amy? That's one of Eggman's clunkers! Out of my way!
No! He helped me before by letting me escape! This robot is different! You don't need to hurt him, okay?
Amy! Okay, I guess I'll let him go then.
And of course we get the showdown between her and Zero, with her winning in justice for the poor bird that just got shot down by him. Then she rescues all the flickies and wants to be just as much of a hero as her idol is. That's definitely how you write a character like Amy, respectful and independent. She does like Sonic, but she's able to do so much more to stand alongside the other characters with her objectives in the game's campaign as well. Then along came the sequel, Sonic Adventure 2, and good lord did this game go complete 180 with her. You already heard me shoehorn this in during my last Sonic Movie 3 discussion, but now I have to do it again. To me, Amy has just as much involvement in this game's story as classic Sonic does in Forces, just not as cringe. The most she does is reason with Shadow to help prevent the space colony from crashing down on Earth, which is important, but you could replace Amy with any character, and the end results wouldn't have changed a bit. Yes, I'm dying on that hill. I can kinda see where people are coming from when they refer to this scene as Amy's shining moment, and I can understand, but they needed to do more with her to win me over at least. This is proved even further, seeing as nobody bothered to thank her for what she's done. She already didn't do much to progress the story of SA2 prior to the last story. What she does do is free Sonic from his cell on Prison Island, even though Tails would have been able to do the same thing either way, whine when she gets left behind by the main crew, and be a target for Eggman when they try to fool him when attempting to hand over the fake emerald. So while Amy is far from being at her most useless in this game compared to others, she still wasn't given that much to work with to merit her existence in here. She could practically be stripped away from the game completely and little to nothing would have changed. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. After this is a game everyone loves that I don't, Sonic Heroes, and what is Amy's main objective in this game? To find Sonic and marry him. Well, at least she's caring for her friends, Cream and Big, by helping them look for Chocola Chow and Froggy, but that's pretty much it. Seriously, we get it! She's Sonic's #1 fangirl, but you don't have to shove it dead in our faces like a gazillion times! And she's seen chasing off Sonic during the final cutscene. Next up, we have Sonic X, and this is a really confusing one because half of the time Amy is either just slightly annoying or just decent at best. In Season 1, for the majority of it all, she occasionally helps the team out against Eggman, does her own thing at times, and is ready to throw tantrums whenever Sonic is brought up. It isn't until the retelling of the SA1 and SA2 stories where they start giving her more to work with, but these stories were obviously already done before, with much better results than how it ends up in the show. And FYI, having Chris Thorndike be the one to reason with Shadow doesn't help either. Let's not forget about the Metarex saga, which is arguably the only thing the series had going for it when looking back. She does save Sonic a couple of times and helps the team out to defeat Dark Oak and the other Metarex, which I guess is good enough for me. For some reason, when folks go on about this show, Amy is always brought up more often than not. But for the most part, Amy was either a love interest or a team player in the series, but I kinda wanted more for her. Pick whichever one suits you. And the bag just keeps getting more and more mixed every time we go further. I'd say she was decent enough in Sonic 06, and I think most people will agree with me on that. First thing she does is once again mistake somebody else for Sonic, this time being Silver. Girl, he literally has boots and a different quill style. After doing so, she offers to help Silver find who he's looking for. As soon as he helps her find Sonic. Hold on, just hear me out a bit here. This time around, her affection towards him isn't as in-your-face as most other games play it out to be, which is of course a plus. She peaks when she helps protect Sonic from Silver once she finds out he was the one he was hunting down. Then claims that she would choose Sonic over the world, which does sound petty, but I like to believe that she stated this because she knows the kind of person Sonic is. Sonic Unleashed didn't really do much with her, as she was just kinda there for you to talk to in either Spagonia or Shamar. And this is the third time in a row she made the mistake about hugging the wrong creature that she thought was Sonic, and turns out it was Sonic! But on the upside, her personality was on point as she was kind-hearted and well aware of what was going on in the story, so it works. In Sonic and the Black Knight, for some reason, Sega decided to have her show up during the last cutscene with the epilogue after the adventure, and it's being expressed how she thinks Sonic forgot about their date, and she angrily chases him. This was also the same game where she was given the story counterpart of Nemu, the Lady of the Lake, who seemed like a pretty chill person to be around. Sheesh, quite the transition, I'll say. You can't really blame Sonic for acting the way he did in the cutscene before they enter Misty Lake. And thus the Dark Era came to an end, and was overall hit and miss with Amy, and little did we know that we'd be greeted with more and more misses with very few hits. Everyone by now should already know how Amy was treated for the most part in the Meta Era, and the cutscene before the credits in Generations is more than enough to prove so. Ironically, it wasn't until 2014 with the release of Sonic Boom, despite its laughable failure, where we would get a take on Amy that actually has more of a personality that isn't just being a stalker. And I don't care how many times it's been said, but I'd say Boom Amy is in fact the best version of the character and overall my favorite iteration. She actually cared about her friends and other folks who weren't Sonic, along with being an artist and expresses emotions when necessary. Yeah, they were hugely exploratory with her personality traits in Boom, and I gotta give mad props for that. At least in the TV shows. I can't exactly speak for the games, because ranting about those ain't the topic here. Her love for Sonic is hardly there, if not at all, which once again only leads to a matter of opinion on the people you ask. In most of the other spin-offs, she's more or less the same in every single one, but I will talk about the important details, the little of them that there are. Only thing on her mind being Sonic, and immediately jumps to conclusions whenever Sonic is being seen. Her story in Sonic Battle was mostly about her being Emerald's bodyguard to show how much of a caring mother figure she is. I couldn't make this up if I tried. And just a short reminder that in Sonic Rush, when Cream tells Blaze that Amy is often short-sighted, Amy literally threatens her with her Pico Pico hammer, by the way. Oh, but none of those got anything on Amy and Free Riders. All you need to know about her here is that Amy would make a terrible coach and teammate, which is exactly how she's played out here. Can you imagine an alternate universe where in Sonic Frontiers, in the cutscene where Sage pesters Sonic again, Amy would just immediately assume that Sonic's hanging out with another girl and completely scolds him each time they talk? I sure as hell can't. Look, you can say Amy is boring in the new media all you want, but I'd rather go with boring than annoying, even though I don't exactly view her as boring in this one game. Although I gotta say, it's a huge relief how Boom takes place in a different universe, because if this somehow took place in the game universe, this fandom would have been cooked a lot sooner. Then once Boom ended, we've gone back to her just being a background character with hardly anything to work with in Sonic Forces. Extremely more so than what they did with her in Generations, Lost World, and even Unleashed to an extent. All hope seemed lost for Amy fans, but then along came Sonic Frontiers, and while it may vary depending on who you ask, Amy is splendid in this game. I'm not really one to gatekeep on anything despite what I had to say throughout this video. Every Sonic fan has their take on the characters, and me personally, I think Amy was at her best in Frontiers. And believe me, it may have been difficult, but I was able to put my love for Frontiers on the side so I can speak freely about her appearance here. However, there was one thing that sure got people confused, myself included, over what the devs think about her, and that's this scene.
I'm not just a damsel in distress anymore.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
I'm sorry, what? Not a damsel in distress anymore? That only happened 2 times! Amy may not have any similar abilities that most of the other characters do, but the games where she shines the most show exactly the kind of thing she can do, which is exactly what I want. Also, the way Amy fans have their priorities led to me and my BFF making our own personal ongoing Amy joke.
Normal human beings matter more than Amy. Amy Rose fans are going to be so mad at us.
And that still gets me to this day. That's how bad fans have it. And ever since I've been on Twitter, I've noticed that it's mostly Amy fans that have random beef with me. People often think that I hate her deeply, which obviously I don't. What I do hate is how fans treat her shift in characterization like it's such a big deal that they feel the need to call it misogynistic? Okay. Look, I understand having a huge amount of appreciation for a character, but to say a whole game company is being blatant misogynistic just for changing a female character for one game is really pushing your limits. There's being hugely supportive, but then there's just doing that. Like, come on. So if there's anything you can learn from this video, it's that most Sonic fans, specifically the ones on Twitter, still can't have reasonable discussions or discourses. Even in the year 2024, they're still suffering for it. And it's not like I hate Amy or anything, far from that. If you ask me, she could really use more screen time and plot relevance in the series moving forward, and having her be playable in games from here on out. The thing is that I would like for them to do more with her character. I mean, do you really want to see this again in another game? Yes, she can still have her crush on Sonic with a pinch of her normal girlish behavior, but don't let that be the cost of how she actually plays a role in the game. Kinda scary how Sonic Frontiers was the game where fans have been having an identity crisis as to what they want Amy to be. Hence why it's best for Sega to not even listen to us. But if one game has the power to switch up the mindset for how people feel towards a character, that's way too much dedication to have for a franchise you cherish so greatly for. Yes, there is such a thing as that. If fans continue to act this way, then we're in unfortunate need for the next mainline game to come out and see if what these people are saying actually holds true. Amy's a good character, there's no denying it, and she can be much more. A stereotypical fangirl isn't the only thing you'd want a girl character to have to be good. Just make sure you don't forget the traits that made her likable when she reached her peak in media like Sonic Adventure or Sonic Boom. And as for the fans on Twitter, whatever your next dumb debate is gonna be, kindly leave me out of it, please.